Hello everyone! If you're watching this video while it's still unlisted, congratulations on solving the puzzle. You don't think I was really gonna leave this bit out, did you? Plus, can't really talk about 3 separate ARGs and not make a little one myself for you to solve, so as I mentioned in the first video, there was an official Cloverfield manga that had released exclusively in Japan in 2008, and as such, it was all in Japanese, but luckily thanks to 3 users, Aaron I, Cosmopal, and his girlfriend Sarah-kun, we were able to get a roughly translated version for English readers to enjoy. However, roughly can be a bit of an understatement as it's not the most one-for-one translation. It can be a bit hard to understand at times, so I've taken the time to properly understand the story and explain it to you because there's a lot of people who don't even know that this exists and it's really interesting, so I thought that this would be a cool thing to share with you all. So sit back and enjoy as I break down the official Cloverfield manga, Cloverfield Kishin. Oh, and by the way, at the current time of making this, my entire life is consumed by Persona 5 Royal, so I hope you like Persona music.
You never see it coming. You say that my mind is the best for eyes. You're done.
So this story is about a boy by the name of Kishin Aiba. He's a bit of a pushover, he gets picked on a lot, he's really depressed, and his entire arc revolves around the fact that he doesn't really know his purpose in life. He kind of feels like he's just existing on this earth with no clear direction, and because of that, he kind of mopes a lot and thinks he's a useless waste of space, but that's a statement that his best friend Ayako Sasahara absolutely rejects. You kind of get the feeling she likes him romantically, but he's kind of too stupid to realize it. He's one of those characters. But she encourages him to think better of himself, and it's nice. I like their dynamic together. We get a separate scene of a Tagerato ship as it lurks anchored to the ocean floor, and for context, this story takes place in Japan and exists as a non-canon prequel to the events of the first Cloverfield movie. You'll get to see soon enough why this plot should not be taken as canon. It gets fucking wild real quick. After we get a sign of things soon to come, we transition to a flashback scene as Kishin thinks fondly of his mother. She was kind to him and gave him all the attention that he ever wanted, and he loved her deeply, but he had bullies at school who often made fun of her, calling her names and saying that she was weird, and unfortunately, she died due to mysterious causes. And his father was never around as he worked for Tagerato, and was so busy with work that he wasn't really there to be Kishin's father figure. Back to present day though, as we see Kishin of course being bullied as usual, and one of them goes too far and mentions his dead mother. Kishin reaches his limit and, coincidentally, something simultaneously alive and huge erupts from the ocean. Part 2 starts pretty excitingly as the Cloverfield monster obliterates the Tagerato vessel, and despite many efforts to take it down, the military forces on what's left of the ship are no match for the monster as it makes quick work of them and makes way for the city of Tokyo. A bit later on, the military starts making its presence known around the city, encouraging civilians to take shelter as news of some mysterious beast makes its way to land and citizens begin to take shelter, as it's believed the creature is heading for Tokyo. Kishin and Ayako run into each other as they are both heading home, and nervously Kishin accepts Ayako's request to his home to shelter in place. During the walk home, Kishin remarks how his father works for Tagerato, and has a bunch of connections to certain VIPs, including a famous pop star in Tokyo named Yuki, and has some signed autographs she can have. When they arrive home, Kishin goes to his father's room to find the old autographs for Ayako, only to be reminded of when he was a child and his father got extremely angry at him for entering the room without his permission. Knowing his dad's not home though, he enters the room anyway, only to find the hospital records of himself scattered around his father's desk, along with some document regarding seabed nectar. Before Kishin can process what he's seeing, he hears a loud scream from the living room. Kishin finds Ayako held hostage by some masked man with a bizarre-looking bracelet on him, but before Kishin can muster up what little courage he has to begin with to help her, a second masked man knocks Kishin out. Ayako manages to break free of the masked man and escapes the house to find some soldiers who could hopefully help. She tells a soldier that Kishin's being robbed, and the soldier has her taken to shelter, promising to deal with Kishin's situation. And then he immediately doesn't do that and leaves. Way to protect and serve, buddy. Meanwhile, Kishin finally wakes up, and this is where the plot goes full Japanese manga and gets real fucking weird. Because Kishin is met by these people wearing cult-like masks, and a cultist leader who tells Kishin that he has been sent to them by their god. What god, might you be wondering? The Cloverfield monster, Mr. Grumpy Pants himself, is their god. We are only just getting started here, y'all. Just wait. This gets so bizarre. I love it so much. We begin part 3 switching between the military getting their asses handed to them by the monster and Tagerato headquarters as this doctor that looks like Bugs Bunny in a lab coat laments over the fact that Dr. Aiba, Kishin's father, is not there. The man implies that the monster's arrival is unplanned, as if they had been aware of the monster's presence and planned to strategically wake it up to test it. We then cut to Kishin and the cultists, which sounds like a bad indie band, as the cult leader begins exposition dumping on him about everything that's happening. The cultists believe that their god, the monster, has risen to cleanse the earth of civilization to start anew and reshape the world in their image. And they also believe that Kishin is a key part of this cleansing. On top of that, the leader name drops his mom, Yoko Aiba, revealing that she was a devout member of this cult and worshipped the monster as well, but was killed by someone trying to stop the cult. We briefly cut to the monster as it's now making landfall and wreaking havoc in Tokyo, and as we see Kishin being affected by all of these revelations, we see the monster being affected by something as well, but we're not exactly sure of what just yet. The leader is not done revealing bombshells just yet though, as he reveals that this god that they worship can be controlled by what they refer to as God's vestige. And this power was hidden away by Yoko in a very special place, inside of Kishin himself. Yeah, have you figured out why this story is not canon yet? The cultist leader then whips out a damn sword and tries to kill Kishin, thinking that killing him will therefore transfer the power of God's vestige into himself. The cultist has shit aim though and misses, and Kishin falls over and the chair breaks, resulting in him being able to break free from his restraints. It's not enough though, as the leader then knocks him out, and just before he's able to make a fatal blow, a man in a leather jacket and motorcycle helmet shoots the leader in the head and takes off with Kishin. The bullet was not fatal though, as it only wounded the leader and his mask took the brunt of the damage. The leader demands to his cultists to find the boy as he needs his power. But it's too late as the monster crashes through the building and squashes the leader under his big toe. You'll love to see it. We briefly see Kishin's bullies and Ayako as they're trapped at the shelter with the terrifying parasite monsters, killing everyone in sight right outside, and Kishin's bullies grab Ayako and throw her outside as tribute for the parasites. Followed by another flashback sequence, but this time from the perspective of the monster itself. The monster just wanted to sleep at the bottom of the ocean and live in peace. However, he kept being disrupted by the cultists as well as Tagerato, who only sought him out for power and wealth. In his desperate pleas for peace, we see that he called out to Kishin for aid. Back to present day though, as we get back to Kishin, and it's revealed that the leather-clad biker is actually Kishin's father. This is a big day for Kishin because the lore just keeps coming. Kishin's father reveals that upon the discovery of the Cloverfield monster was a remote controller of sorts along with it, something that Tagerato referred to as the Splinter of Amnion, aka God's Vestige. And when the cult got word of this discovery, they sent forth their spy, Yuko, to try and retrieve it. Yuko encountered Dr. Aiba and they fell in love and had Kishin. One day, the splinter went missing and Tagerato blamed Yuko for the disappearance and ordered her killed for stealing it. Upon her death, Tagerato was still unable to retrieve the splinter, and the loss of Yuko drove Dr. Aiba to focus solely on his work as a coping mechanism and splintered his relationship with his son. Ha, splintered, you see what I did there? I'm sorry. Eventually, Dr. Aiba discovered that the vestige was placed inside of Kishin, quickly piecing together that his wife hid it inside of their son to protect him. He tried to remove it from inside of Kishin, but it's so embedded into his DNA that it's impossible to do so, and now Dr. Aiba believes the monster has now made landfall because he senses Kishin. So that was obviously a lot to take in, but where do we go from here? How do they stop the monster from further destroying the city? Well, Dr. Aiba has come up with a perfect plan that's sure to work. He says, son, you have to die. But don't worry, son. I'll die with you. Can you see why this is not canon? Oh my god. His father detonates the bombs, killing himself and destroying the building around them, but Kishin remains presumably because of the power he wields inside of him. This is Kishin's darkest moment. Almost everything he's ever known is a lie. His mother was a cultist who was killed by his father's company. He has God's Amazon Fire Stick remote inside of him, and his dad just tried to force him to commit Sudoku and failed. My man is a bit upset, but in this darkness, Kishin finds within him the ability to connect with the monster directly. The monster finds Kishin, and what follows is the rawest fucking image I have ever seen. Kishin is riding atop the head of the monster as they head for Kishin's villain arc. The final part of this series follows Kishin as he's fueled with rage over everything that he's uncovered, and has full control over not only the Cloverfield monster, but the parasites as well. They head towards the shelter to confront the people who bullied him for years, as he plans to just straight up murder them. They beg for him to stop, only for Kishin to retort that they never stopped when he begged all those times they were bullying him. Kishin is an absolute savage in this section, and basically says, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna let the parasites play with you for a while before I let them kill you. But in walks Aiko, who's super confused on what's happened to Kishin, as he's not acting like himself at all. So Aiko does what any sensible friend would do. It punches the ever-living shit out of him, which actually works, and Kishin comes to his senses. This also means the connection he had with the monsters is severed, as both the big guy and the parasites begin running rampant, terrorizing everything in sight again. Kishin, Aiko, and the bullies run to the shelter to hide from the parasites. Everyone is trying to barricade the doors, except for Kishin, who looks like he's just got another case of the SADS. And just when everyone thinks Kishin's had enough and is about to end it all, he gives himself a haircut. And with that, finally, he finds his inner strength, and I desperately need an anime adaptation of this ASAP. Kishin tells the others to run off while he distracts the parasites, which does the trick, but then he's met with Clovey himself. Kishin bargains with the monster to give him the vestige so that the monster can go away in peace, and the monster accepts, taking Kishin with him, very much to the dismay of Aiko. Something very weird happens though. As the monster grabs Kishin and finds the pod within him, the monster connects with Kishin and feels all of the sadness and negative thoughts that he has inside of him. But more than that, he senses how Kishin feels about Aiko, and in that brief moment of vulnerability, the military fires a rocket that hits him square in the eye and hurts him, and as a result, the monster heads back to the ocean. And it's not super clear what's happening here, but it looks like the monster begins some sort of hibernation cycle inside of some pod at the bottom of the ocean, along with a handful of other pods, implying that this is not the only monster on the seabed floor. Kishin, believed to be dead, washes ashore on a piece of wood and wakes up and takes solace in the fact that although he spent many years wondering his purpose in life, he finds newfound peace knowing that he's forged his own purpose, and the story ends with Kishin and Aiko in each other's embrace. And that's it. That is Cloverfield Kishin. Obviously a much shorter video this go around, but I think I've given you guys enough to chew on. So thank you again for all of your love and support on the first two videos as well as this one. Thanks for taking the time to find this one. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. This has been an absolute experience to make this for you all. So thank you again, and I will see you next time.